Hey everybody, welcome to this week's Star Report. This is Jason, and I'm here at New Dimensions Crystals and Reiki here in downtown Brenham, Texas. And we are bringing you this week's Star Report for May the 3rd, Wednesday. We go from Wednesday to Wednesday, and we usually jump right in with the solar weather. The solar activity has been on an uptick this week. Not necessarily on anything that's facing Earth. And we know that if it's facing Earth, that we have a chance for higher impact. But if it's not facing Earth, then the solar activity just goes through our electric circuit that we have connected, right? We're magnetically or electrically connected to what happens on the sun. And so when that stuff goes down or happens, we are affected on the planet. It sort of transfers down from the magnetosphere into the upper atmospheres, and then down to the surface, and then goes through our weather systems, and then hits the earth, and then sort of comes back up if we're grounded to it. And so we're affected by what happens with the sun. And so I always give you a report on what's happening on the sun. And so the weather has been on an uptick. Solar flaring is the thing that's been on the uptick. Most of those have been non-Earth facing, and the ones that might have given us a glancing blow were not long duration, so there wasn't a whole lot of stuff that was coming out of the sun for a longer time. And so we're not looking for a whole lot of impacts from that, but we should have felt a little bit of extra brain fog and a little bit of extra cardiac activity. Some people would have been experiencing that as an anxiety, heart palpitations. People that already have cardiac issues might have felt an irregularity there, or an uptick in their symptoms of what they have. Those that suffer emotional problems or psychological imbalances that have been diagnosed, those things would be on the uptick too when we have solar flaring. And the reason those things affect us so much, or more than normal, or the reason that we're paying more attention, is because the Earth's poles are shifting, which is reducing our shielding from cosmic weather. And so that cosmic weather affects us more directly than it used to, and more each day. And so what we also have happening is we have a coronal hole, which is the dark parts of the sun that are facing our direction, that is facing Earth, facing this today. And so it looks like there's sort of two pieces of it, but sometimes that's just a long gash in there. But there's definitely on the southern hemisphere of what we were looking at through our satellites, the bottom half of the sun, there's a large dark coronal hole. And what that does is that sort of gives a little plasma stream that hits the Earth, and so that sort of causes compression, so sluggishness, heaviness. Sometimes this energy best used is to have a hermit day, have a turtle day, and spend it in contemplation if you can, or at least not offering all of your internal thoughts to the external, because some of those things that are being brought up and triggered and activated by the sun are for you to contemplate on the inside and not necessarily for you to share out loud. Although people that work in public workspaces that have to share those workspaces, sometimes it's hard to just sort of keep all that stuff to yourself, because you have to talk and then people can know that you're off and then they'll ask questions. But that's what community is about, so that's a good thing. But try to keep most of the stuff that happens to be personal, because that's for your own evolution, and you're processing that through so that you can have this growth, which is being triggered by the cosmic weather, the astrological weather that's going on. And so I think that's everything with the sun. I said we're having extra flaring. We have a coronal hole stream. Also, things to pay attention to if you're anywhere near earthquakes, then those earthquakes might be on an uptick. Seismic weather tends to increase when the coronal holes are facing our direction. So that leads us into today's astrological weather, Wednesday, the 3rd of May. I like May because I'm a May baby. May the 12th is my birthday, if anybody wants to mail me some fantastic gifts. You don't have to. That was just randomly thought in there because I was like, hey, it'd be nice to get good things. May the 3rd, it is today, we are in full Pluto retrograde. That is what is probably triggering most of the things, right? So with the extra solar activity, this Pluto retrograde has really got us. So it's the farthest out planet, if you still call it a planet, but it is. So it's still astrologically significant. And when it goes in retrograde, it's our deepest, darkest, or our foundational selves, right? So it's either the stuff that's remained hidden from us or that we've hidden from ourselves, or it's something that's foundational that we don't know that we were built on it. So it's almost like a hidden operating system that's been causing our life to sort of move in certain ways. And so that Pluto retrograde is going to be here until October. So this is an energy that's here to stay. So you might as well start to work with it. A lot of times, this might be foundational things from childhood that are coming up. Since this is occurring during what is also happening today and continuing on, Mercury retrograde, it could be a lot about old relationships or lessons from those old relationships coming back up, or those people coming back around into your life. That is not the universe saying, hey, these people are back in your life, welcome them in. This is sort of a cautionary tale, like, hey, these people might have left for a reason. Did you learn that lesson? So I know that I get a lot of traffic that comes into the shop and says, oh, this person just sort of showed back up, and they don't know that it's during Mercury retrograde, right? And that reoccurrence or that reconnection is not necessarily fate saying that you're meant to be together with this person. That's the universe and your own energy system spiraling up into a higher echelon. And it's a double check. Have you learned the lessons that you learned in those relationships? And do you want to move past those? Or are you, I guess it could be meant to be, are you ready to settle for who you are and not really work on personal development? So those people might come back into your life for that. Kind of a downer news for that, but that's true. So I'm here about telling you the truth. So yeah, Pluto, 5 months, all that stuff, personal development, work on yourself, right? And so this energy of the coronal hole and that inward focus is, what are you reconstructing? And sometimes this is just understanding how you're built, right? If you are into like building homes or remodeling, or you do art, right? Sometimes you wonder, like, what's this foundation built on? Is it crushed gravel? Is it a poured concrete slab? Is it pier and beam? What's in the walls? Is there mold in the walls? All these kinds of things are really what we're looking like. What are we constructed as? And that can be anything from our spiritual development, that can be our psychological development, that can be our genetics from our parents, that can be our dietary issues or problems, that could be developed over time from toxicities, whether that be toxic mold or a bad diet where toxicities build up in the body. What are you constructed of? And so over this next 5 months, which leads us into October, right? So you have basically summertime to like work on detoxing, and that's, good weather to do it. For the northern hemisphere, it's usually warmer weather, so maybe you can even sweat some of that toxicity out if there is any in there, and work on that stuff. So that's the energy of Pluto. If you don't like any of that stuff and you don't like to focus, maybe you are a person who drives their car and has no idea what engine is in it. You don't know the difference between gas grades and how that would make your car function better or worse, or different oil grades. So this might be overwhelming for people who don't like the details of how things are constructed, but it's a perfect time to sort of work on that. And the energy of the cosmos is working with you so that you can actually construct what you want, and it's easier to build rather than to tear down. So pay attention to that. That's just all Wednesday. I feel like I talked for like 30 minutes on that. Like I said, we're in Mercury retrograde still, and kind of in the same thing with the relationship stuff. It's a resetting of communication boundaries, and the energy is really such. The energy is really such that I'm a hand talker and I got a microphone right in my way. The energy is such that you're trying to communicate, right? I said just to be quiet and keep it to yourself just a second ago, but this is communicate to yourself and manifest your highest good, right? And so when you communicate to yourself, that creates a vibration, a feeling, an emotion, and that emotion is what externalizes, or people can sense, at least at a animalistic level, right? We can sort of tell when somebody's got a good vibe or a bad vibe. So what you're doing is you're reconstructing and you're manifesting that good vibe with all this Pluto energy. And so that retrograde is really what we're doing with that, which leads us into tomorrow, Thursday. May the 4th be with you. And so this energy, what? So, yeah, I know Star Wars and I'm around and I pay attention to things. So Thursday, May the 4th, we can sort of use that force of the sun, the moon, and earth in alignment. They're coming into alignment because Friday, Saturday is the lunar eclipse. And so we can sort of use that alignment, and also the Taurinian stellium, the Taurus stellium, to generate your inner light, right? And so not only are you working on what you're constructing, but you're working on the intensity or the brightness for which those parts of you that you put together glow or shine or inspire you, right? So that inspiration is really about how big is your inner light bulb, right? And so are you inspired, and are you building something that is inspiring? And it doesn't have to be that people agree with you, or it even has to be detailed for other people to understand. But if you have a glow, it's good for the community and the people that you are around, because it allows them to also understand that they are allowed to glow. I've noticed for the first time in a while that there's been lightning bugs down here, and I don't know, it's whether because they've oversprayed or whatever, that they've been rare, but there's definitely been some lightning bugs. And so that inner light sort of is the catalyst that, right, when we show each other our light, it realizes that what we see as a deconstruction of our cultural life and things sort of feeling like they're crumbling down, and the earth and the stars and the sun all leading towards reset, as it were, that what we're really supposed to understand is that we all have this inner light. And then when we nurture it, it's almost like the old school days when you would lift the knight's visor to sort of see eye to eye, like, I can see you, right? And so this brightness is really a lighting up. And in the military, it's a salute. Hey, I'm safe. Hey, look at my hands. I'm not here to harm you, right? And so if you can sort of generate your inner light with this energy that's going on Thursday, would be really good. And then so Venus is also going to be affecting you on, I was like, what's the word? Venus is also going to be affecting you on Thursday. And so Venus is planet of love. And it's really sort of encouraging you to consider, even when you aren't actively doing something, that you're daydreaming, that you're planning, that your thought process is an act, right? If you were trying to remain thoughtless or diverted or entertained rather than focusing on yourself, that would be not focused. That would be not daydreaming. That would be not working. But daydreaming about what would it be like if you acted this way, right? So even that daydreaming is an act. And so Venus is going to help you do that with love, right? It's not a blaming, oh, I should have done, or I should do this, or if only, right, that you're not good enough to do that, but with love, right? I love myself enough to dream this into possibility and to manifest this within myself. And then, right, that's going to increase the glow that we've been working on. So that moves us into May the 5th, Friday. Friday is a 5-5 day, so 5-5, it's May 5th. And 5-5 or 55 or 555, for those of you who are into triple digits, numerologically is really the energy of Christ consciousness, or Christ or oneness consciousness, right? So the whole idea that there is a beacon or a source code or a vibration that comes from source, whether that be what you call a God, God, or whether that's just source or the universe, whatever name you want to give to it. Most of the spiritualities and mainline religions believe that there is a oneness from which all things come. And so that energy of 5-5 is that, right? So really you should feel a little bit of relief from the retrogrades, from the sun on Friday, because it's about oneness. And then that energy is also of the full moon, right? So the full moon is extracting, right? If you notice that when you get into the moonlight, it's colder than it is in the shadow, right? So moonlight is extracting heat or energy from you, which is why you use them to cleanse your crystals. Put your crystals out on Friday night. They don't have to be out in direct moonlight. They can be on a windowsill. But that energy of the full moon, lunar eclipse, and the lunar eclipse is in Scorpio. And so Scorpio is sometimes seen in ancient astrology as the eagle, not the scorpion. And so when we think of that, it's really about this time that we can sort of fly, that we can sort of take flight and have the vision that we really need, that we can see the field, the universe, ourselves for what it really is. And then also that we sort of understand that we are at the peak, right? That depending on how concrete you are and how you understand human development, we'd be at the peak of, or the power of the food chain. That's spiritually as well, right? So that anything that might be dark or unsavory that is happening in your life, it's sort of this idea that you are the eagle, you are the paramount predator, that you can get the highest and see the most. And so that energy of this full moon eclipse on Friday in oneness consciousness is going to be really intense, but really beneficial, right? So you, even though it's a big shift, you're going to feel like it's a good shift. It's almost like when you've done a big project for work, or you've made a long trip and you're still energized when you get there. These kinds of things, when you've sort of completed a project, it's going to be that kind of thing. You're not done working on yourself, but it's going to feel like that. Like you're going to feel like, hey, I did some work today on myself. And that'll feel really great. Saturday is the 6th. Saturday the 6th is halfway till solstice, so that'd be summer solstice. So we're almost there, right? So we're sort of in that in-between stuff where we're moving full into summer. And just kind of, you should find some energy and, you know, some release that's going on there. And that leads us into Sunday, May the 7th, which is the eclipse doorway closes, right? So technically Friday and Saturday is the lunar eclipse because of how the planet goes and how we mark our days across the earth. And so Sunday is the eclipse window closes, right? And so this is that window that we've been sort of working this reclamation project of ourselves from the solar eclipse to the lunar eclipse. This is big gateway where we've been receiving downloads and information and contemplations about what we're upgrading, right? And so all the stuff that we've been working on, or I told you to work on earlier in the week, that's when this sort of gateway closes, where that stuff starts to simmer and starts to create new things, right? So all of this contemplation, if you're feeling like you are held back or you're ready to act and so you're nervous about doing, then that's going to be the day where you can actually start doing. So just a couple more days of contemplation and working on yourself and sort of realizing that the heaviness of the universe is for your good, and it's about all of this information and energy that is moving through the system. And so the more you can be grounded, the more you can do breath work. Sign up for personal one-on-one here at New Dimensions. You can go on the website newdimensionscrystals.com and sign up for those. But that breath work would work and help you sort of move that energy through. Meditation, of course, always works. Exercise is great for allowing that energy and using that. And then that exercise will feel even really great on Sunday, sort of using that energy to actively do something, right? And that'll be the last little bit of residual stuff that you've been releasing, right? So when you put new water into a full water pitcher, right, some of the stuff has to flow out the top. So that exercise is going to sort of push out that older energy. You'll sweat it out, you'll breathe it out, and that'll be really good. And then also Sunday, just right on time. It seems like the universe is working in our favor this year. If we allow the visuals to sort of go by the wayside and we focus on ourselves, we realize the universe and ourselves are becoming these bigger, more greater things. And so right on cue, Sunday is the peak of the Eta Aquarids meteors. So look for Aquarius and see the meteor showers coming out of that. And that's going to be the peak of that. And so we know meteors, when they're coming in, it's information, ideas. Sometimes it's almost like light in the cave. So it's almost a torch that helps us find a way. So that energy that's going to be happening on Sunday is going to be really a good completion to what sort of happened this week. And that's just going to sort of residual on until Wednesday when we come back for our report next Wednesday. So that is the star report and everything that is happening that I know of, or that I think is important, that I've collated for all of you to have here. So I will see you again next week, Wednesday, here at New Dimensions Crystals. I'm Jason. This is a Star Report. Until next time, many blessings.